Okay, so if you guys, those of you who are longer time watchers, you're used to me streaming with a green screen. Even when I do a retro game that's 4x3, we would use a green screen. But we are going to do some live editing and get a different camera going. We're going to use this one now. So let's turn this one off. Take this one. And now you can see my tiny little retro collection behind me. And hear my cat. That seems about right. Alright, let's check it out. I think we're good, except this camera. I think that's about better. All right, hi, let's go. Let's play our first round of Super Mario Bros. With this setup. Let me get my levels right. Firebrand's profiles? No, I have... Just checking audio levels. I have it at pretty much stock settings. Alright. So yeah, once again, I mean, you're probably used to... For those who watch this stream, it's always looked this good. Or not always, but the stream has looked like this for a long time. Because I've used RGB for a long while on stream. I just haven't had a PVM. So I've been playing with a little bit of input lag. And now there's no more input lag. So I am much happier about that. I'll have to redo the retro shelf so that it looks better now that it's on camera. But yeah. I mean, now we just... Oh man. Now I just want to play retro games like never before. And I was already a retro bro. You want a retro shelf? Well, you've got some retro games, right? I don't have like a huge collection. I have just this little bit of NES, about that much Super Nintendo. This white block is Master System. What a worthless system that is. Oh, I was gonna show off the features. So this thing has an underscan feature that shows... It like draws the image smaller on the screen so that you don't get the overscan cut off. And I kind of wondered if it does not affect the throughput. That's interesting. Yeah, Wizards and Warriors is a game that I am definitely going to play. I don't know anything about it except that Mega strongly suggests it. And the last game that Mega suggested was Magic of Scheherazade, which even though we haven't beaten, it is fantastic and I would like to continue playing that also. Yup. Alright, well, you know what? It looks like I don't actually have to move anything. I thought I was gonna have to move the whole rest of my retro station to the left in order to get this to work over here to my right. But it kinda seems like that might not be necessary. Whoops! Whoops. There's a Mario-themed banner in Titanfall 2. Right, so when Flex is here, I mean, now we're gonna have to be side by side, which means I might not be able to have this drum set in here anymore. It just takes up too much space. I love doing drum streams, but, you know, it takes up a little too much space, and then also, well, I feel like I would practice drums less if it wasn't in here, though, so, because it's really convenient to have it plugged into my mixer. I plug my drums into my mixer, and then I can really easily play audio from my computer and mix it in, you know, in my headphones, so, yeah. The webcam is different, Rocket Science. It is the other webcam. The other one is still there. I'm looking this way now. Isn't that wacky crazy? Hang on, I gotta... There we go. So this is what I was promising. This is what I've been promising for the last, Whoa! I was reading chat. This is what I was promising for the last, you know, week. Is that, check it out, guys, the stream is gonna go back to RGB quality, how it was before, but I am gonna be on a CRT, and so I can play Mario properly for you guys, instead of complaining about the input lag. Which I wasn't the complainer, but then Flex brought over his CRT, and I was like, oh, I have been playing with input lag. Oh, I don't have the FrameMeister configured properly right now. You guys are actually seeing the underscan. It's one button. It's just the zoom I have to enable. So you guys are seeing more screen than I am. On the left and right, it doesn't make a difference, but there's like a half an extra tile on the bottom that looks kind of whack, because you guys can see like a sky pixel underneath the ground, which looks dumb. Let me press that button. There you go, that's more like what I'm seeing. Except that I do want to have the left side on. You know what, I'm not going to worry about it today. I'm going to fix that later on my own. Because the thing is, I had that black bar cut off on the left. But, like, I see the black bar. And I feel like you guys should just see exactly what I see on the screen. So, someday we'll do that. That's right, Bovine. I'm, what number am I on the leaderboard? So this game, Warpless, on speedrun.com, I think I'm like 56th or 57th or something. So, yeah, now we gotta beat that time. Whoops. But this is the only game that I speedrun. I'm not a speedrunner. I just want to play games properly. Whoops! Go beat Mike Tyson. Oh, you know, I've never played Punch-Out. That is a game that I really, really need to get. I've never played Punch-Out. I love the music, though. Like, of course, I've heard, like, that main theme song in the game. So good. Except that right now I can't remember how it goes. And it's hard to think of how a song goes when you're listening to, you know, a Koji Kondo classic such as this. Yeah, there's also Super Punch-Out. I would rather get the NES one. I just like NES more. I mean, the Super Nintendo is... If the NES isn't the best system ever, then the Super Nintendo is the best system ever, you know? Like, I'm not dogging on the Super Nintendo at all. I'm just saying that if I have the opportunity... Well, actually, you know what? What I'm saying is not always true. What I was going to say is if I have the opportunity to play a game on either Super Nintendo or Nintendo, I will play it on Nintendo. However, that is not the case for Megami Tensei. I played the Super Nintendo version of Megami Tensei. Haven't played 2 yet. That's probably the next RPG that we're playing on stream after Final Fantasy V. Oh my god, this picture looks so good. I got an extra life in 3-4? That's weird. Usually I get it in 4-1. Uh-oh. Should have gone behind him. But yeah, we're going to play a few different games here. We're going to play some Super Mario Bros. I've got a Contra Battletoads. You guys want to see Battletoads again? It'll be my first time playing it without input lag. And that's a game that people say you can't beat with input lag, but I guess I did. I didn't think there was input lag, but it turned out there was. In fact, we can look at exactly how much input lag I used to play with. And then we can slow it down later and get the frame count of it. Alright, we'll do that in a minute. Hang on, I screwed up. I would say, all we need to do is take this camera and put it in at such an angle. Because right now, the FrameMeister is going to my capture card, which is passing through this audio, or this video, to... Whoa, I almost died right there. It's passing it through to my HD TV. Which means if we just, assuming that RGB out on this monitor doesn't add any input lag, which I don't see why it would, that means that we would get the actual measurement. I played on a 55-inch LG HD TV. I realized that if I played on something like a Acer, like a monitor, like a computer monitor, with a high refresh rate, that I wouldn't have gotten as much input lag. In fact, our good friend White Mage Becky speedruns Super Metroid on such a monitor. So yeah, a TV was part of the issue of the input lag, and that's why I was saying earlier that in order to reduce the lag, I had two options. I could have either gotten an actual monitor to play on, or I could just go all the way and get a sweet CRT, 2-3 milliseconds? Wouldn't it be more than that? Isn't one frame like 17 milliseconds? Oops. But yeah, if I put this camera in a spot where it sees both images, then we can just beat a level and see the screen transition from transition to black. Yeah. It was definitely multiple frames. One frame is 16, right. So, so Becky has been speedrunning Super Metroid on a Acer 144Hz computer monitor, going through not the FrameMeister, but the OSSC, which is Open Source Scan Converter, which is kind of the new hotness as far as upscaling goes. And because it's cheaper than the FrameMeister, it's also open source, and I think the FrameMeister might not be in production forever unless they find a new manufacturer, because there was some chip that was inside of it that is no longer being manufactured. So they either have to... I don't know. There's something about it. Oh, also, OSSC supports Sync on Green, and the FrameMeister doesn't, unless they update that in a firmware update or something. So yeah, anyway, what I'm saying is that she uses OSSC and a really nice monitor, and says that she gets half a frame of input lag, which is basically nothing. But I didn't want basically nothing. I wanted nothing. Plus, now I'm one of the cool kids. These are good bills. That was an excellent 5-3. Oh, shit. Reading chat. Yeah. Right. So, input lag technically input lag comes from every part of the setup. However, when we say basically nothing on the controller, we're talking about electrical signals, you know? So, old controllers don't work like new ones do. New ones work on, like, a USB or a Bluetooth signal where it actually sends, like, data through when you press a button, right? Which means that the incoming signal has to, like, interpret the data and all that. While these run... I don't know exactly how it works, but they work kind of like an old broadcast channel. So, if you don't know how old TVs worked, your antenna was actually picking up every single channel at the same time. It was just picking up one channel, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one, and then the next one, and it would only display, you know, it would only read the data on a certain sync loop, you know? Whatever channel you had it set to, it would only read... Like, let's say you had 17 let's say there were 17 channels that fit within this frame. You would get channels 1 through 17, frame number 500, and then frame number 500 of channels 1 through 17 again, and depending on what channel setting you had, it would only read the first 17th of each frame, right? Or that 17th of the frame. Controllers work similarly. They send a stream of data or a stream of electricity to the system, and when you complete a circuit, when you make a connection, basically this thing is reading a line, and from beginning to end, there's a certain line that like this centimeter of the line, depending on the scale that you're looking at it on, is left, and this is up, and this is right, and this is down, and this is select start BA. And so if you were looking at it on like a graph of the electricity flowing through the cord, you would see bumps that line up at a certain spot for which button that you're pressing. And so that, so with the hardware just reading an electrical signal, it's a lot different than it reading data coming through as ones and zeros and then processing that, you know? So, long story short, no, controllers don't add input lag. You know, new controllers do, but still not very much, but old ones don't. I'm not an expert, by the way. And then, yeah, using an analog video signal, it's basically the same thing, you know. Using an analog video signal to a CRT also doesn't really add input lag. But, you know, HD does. I don't have more specific details on exactly why, but like HDMI is gonna have a little input lag. DVI, I don't know about. I'm not sure about DVI. But yeah, I would, if you're interested in that stuff, I would recommend checking out some like YouTube videos about it. I saw one. I wish I could remember which one it was, but Ben Heck has a really good video about something with retro controllers where he has a graph hooked up to a controller, and he's got it zoomed in to the right scope, and he's showing that when he holds a button, it makes a jump in the electricity on a certain spot, you know. It might have been like it was weird. It might have been like the Game Boy Printer episode or something. I don't think it was that one. Anyway, he's also got a Game Boy Printer episode that's really great. Gosh, I love that ending where you bounce off that thing. Too much time on their hands, it's what they're passionate about. Right, exactly what Bovine Divine is saying, is that the FrameMeister supposedly adds about a frame of lag. Or actually, I think that's outdated. I think it used to add a frame of lag, and then they updated it. They updated the firmware and got it faster. Anyway, my several frames of lag came from my TV. And so, yeah, the simpler solution would have been to get a faster monitor, better refresh rate, that kind of thing. But I thought, yeah, let's be a cool kid. Ugh. Well, the processing, I think, partly comes from the fact that it's changing the, it's changing the colors of LEDs, while CRT is just spraying scans. I'm sure that's part of it, since it was an LED display. Now, don't even get into deinterlacing, though. Deinterlacing is usually what causes the most lag, so a lot of TVs don't know what 240p is. So if you hook up a retro game console to them, they think that it's an interlaced 480i signal. I know that that's redundant to say interlaced 480i, but I'm just trying to make a point. They think that it's an interlaced 480 signal instead of a progressive 240 signal, and so they will deinterlace a progressive signal, and that deinterlacing is what takes a lot of time. Which is why it's funny that they do it to old consoles, because old consoles aren't interlaced in the first place. Until you get to, like, some PS1 and mostly PS2. Whoa! Right, yep, what Bovine is saying, right. The LCD or LED stuff, it takes logic in order to change those colors. But when you're sending it through, you know, an analog line to an analog display, it's just getting electricity. And it's just spraying out what it's getting in, you know? Like, it's really fascinating. Stuff like the sync signal. The fact that you've got a red, a green, and a blue line, all just sending a certain amount of electricity based on how much red, green, or blue should be on that pixel that they are currently on, and they're just changing how much electricity that they're spraying out. And then there's another line called sync that is determining for the display which part is the start of a line and which part is the start of the frame. And so, yeah, it doesn't take any logic on the display. The display is being told by the console in real time, literally, pixel for pixel, what to be displayed through electricity, which moves at the speed of light, essentially. As opposed to, like, HDMI, which is getting data, zeros and ones, which it's having to interpret. Hang on, I gotta not die. I am seeing some lines go across the screen every once in a while that you guys are probably seeing. One of the cables that I'm using is an eBay cable because I needed it fast. A higher quality, more shielded cable is on the way. Whoops! We haven't really talked about emulator yet. Did they ship it from China? No, the UK. The cables that I'm using are from retrogamingcables.co.uk. Well, actually, one of them is. The other one is from eBay, which is, I don't know where that's from. It wasn't from China, it was from the US. And it seems like an okay cable, but I don't know, man. I've had very good luck with retro gaming cables, so I'm just gonna use both of theirs. I've had mostly good luck with them. I mean, did you see me bop those two Hammer Bros, by the way? That was sick. So what game should we play next? I've got Battletoads, Contra, Castlevania, Metroid. These are just games that I immediately want to play. Zelda 1, Zelda 2. Oh, we could play Mario 2 Japan. Stay on the Mario but play Lost Levels, but the NES version, you know? Mario 2 Japan. Oh, it's so great. I agree, Icon. Yeah, I mean, they're a little spendier, but like... The only time I did have an issue with one of their cables once. It just died. But I mean, not everything's perfect, and they replaced it, so... Or they replaced it, yeah, for free and quickly, so... It's not really an issue. I shouldn't even bring it up. Yeah, bad Bowser. Let's go, let's go. Yep. You're using OSSC? Yeah, I was talking about OSSC earlier. The new hotness. Battletoads? Let's do it. I love Battletoads. You know,